Most men spend years trying to become more attractive, while completely ignoring the one habit people notice before they notice anything else. It isn't your height. It isn't your money. It isn't even your appearance. It's something far less obvious. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Picture two men walking into the same room. One is dressed perfectly. Expensive watch. Fresh haircut. Confident smile. The other looks average. Nothing flashy. Nothing that demands attention. Yet somehow, people naturally drift toward him. Conversations seem easier. Respect comes faster. His presence feels different. Why? Because attraction rarely begins with what people see. It begins with what they feel around you. And that feeling is often created by one habit. The habit of staying composed. Not pretending. Not suppressing emotion. Not acting cold. Simply refusing to let every emotion take control of every action. It sounds almost too simple. But watch what happens in everyday life. Someone interrupts you. One person immediately becomes defensive. Another listens, smiles, then calmly finishes speaking. Which one feels stronger? Most people don't consciously think about it. They just feel it. Composure sends a silent message. I choose my response. That message is incredibly powerful. Here's what makes this interesting. Many men believe confidence is about speaking louder. Taking more space. Always having the perfect comeback. Real confidence often looks much quieter. It's the ability to remain steady when everyone else becomes reactive. That's surprisingly rare today. Think about social media. Someone disagrees. Instant argument. Someone gets ignored. Instant frustration. Someone feels rejected. Instant emotional spiral. We've become conditioned to react before we think. Which means emotional control has become more noticeable than ever. People remember the calm person. Not because calm is dramatic. Because calm has become uncommon. There's another layer most people miss. Your nervous system teaches other people how to feel around you. Walk into every conversation anxious. People often become slightly uncomfortable without knowing why. Walk into the same room grounded. People tend to relax. Energy spreads faster than words. That's why leaders aren't always the loudest people. Many are simply the most emotionally stable. Think back to someone you've respected. Maybe a coach. A mentor. A family member. When things went wrong, did they panic? Or did they slow everyone else down? That's the difference. Calm creates direction. Panic creates confusion. Now here's where attraction enters the picture. In healthy relationships, emotional safety matters far more than most people realize. People naturally trust those who don't explode over small inconveniences. Who don't disappear every time life becomes difficult. Who don't make every disagreement feel like a crisis. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. That's another misunderstanding. Some men mistake emotional control for emotional distance. Those aren't the same thing. One creates connection. The other creates walls. The strongest people still feel disappointment. They still feel jealousy. They still feel fear. The difference is, those emotions aren't driving the car. Imagine someone cancels plans with you. One response says, "They don't respect me." Instant anger. Passive-aggressive messages. Overthinking all night. Another response pauses. Maybe something happened. Maybe it didn't. Either way, my peace doesn't disappear because one plan changed. Which mindset feels more attractive? Not because it's trying to impress. Because it reflects inner security. Security has its own gravity. People feel it. Without anyone announcing it. Here's something almost nobody talks about. Discipline isn't just about waking up early. Or going to the gym. Or building a business. Those matter. But emotional discipline quietly influences every single area of your life. It changes how you negotiate. How you date. How you handle criticism. How you recover from failure. How you make decisions under pressure. One habit. Dozens of consequences. Have you ever sent a message you regretted 5 minutes later? Almost everyone has. That moment teaches something important. Emotion creates urgency. Wisdom creates pause. That pause might last 10 seconds. Maybe 1 hour. Sometimes one night. But inside that pause, your future changes. Because most regret isn't created by feelings. It's created by actions taken during intense feelings. There's a reason experienced fighters look relaxed before competition. Experienced surgeons remain calm during emergencies. Experienced pilots don't panic during turbulence. They've trained themselves to respond, not react. Life rewards that habit everywhere. Now think about attraction again. Imagine meeting someone who never needs constant reassurance. Never competes for attention. Never rushes to prove they're valuable. Instead, they quietly live like they already know who they are. There's something magnetic about that. Not because they're perfect. Because they're at peace with themselves. People often chase approval without realizing approval loses value the harder you chase it. Respect works differently. Respect grows in silence. It grows through consistency. Through patience. Through emotional steadiness. This is why some people become more attractive as they age. Their appearance changes. But their emotional stability grows. And strangely, people notice them even more. Life has polished them. Instead of hardening them. Here's a small story. A young employee constantly argued whenever his manager corrected him. Every conversation became a debate. He believed defending himself showed confidence. Another employee simply listened. Asked questions. Improved quietly. Months later. Guess who earned greater trust? Not because he agreed with everything. Because people trusted his emotional maturity. The lesson had nothing to do with work. It had everything to do with self-control. Self-control often gets mistaken for weakness. Until pressure arrives. Pressure exposes everyone. Anyone can appear confident when life feels easy. Real character appears when plans collapse. When money gets tight. When relationships become uncertain. When nobody is watching. That's when this habit separates people. Because discipline isn't measured during comfort. It's measured during discomfort. Here's something worth remembering. Your future self is built by tiny invisible moments. The moment you don't respond to an insulting comment. The moment you choose sleep instead of endless scrolling. The moment you keep your promise even when motivation disappears. Those moments rarely receive applause. but they slowly reshape your identity. Identity always comes before reputation. People eventually see what you've practiced privately. Now imagine living this way for 1 year. Conversations become calmer. Decisions become clearer. Stress becomes easier to manage. Relationships become healthier. Not because life suddenly becomes easier. Because you become stronger. That's a completely different kind of confidence. And confidence built through discipline doesn't disappear when circumstances change. Money can disappear. Looks can fade. Status can change overnight. But self-mastery travels with you everywhere. Here's one final perspective. Many people spend their entire lives trying to control other people. Trying to control opinions. Trying to control outcomes. Trying to control circumstances. Yet the most attractive men often focus on something much smaller. And much more difficult. They control themselves. That's the paradox. The less you chase control over everyone else, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because people rarely remember the man who reacted the fastest. They remember the man who stayed steady when everyone else lost themselves. And sometimes, the most attractive thing a man can do isn't saying the perfect words. It's becoming the kind of person whose peace cannot be borrowed or stolen.